right, just to give a quick rundown on the drive shaft that I'm polishing. This is a D-Max store drive shaft, and it has been on the truck for probably 100,000 miles or so. One of the main things you want to look for when you're sanding before you move on to the polishing stage is you want to see a reflection like that. That's where you're gonna kind of get the good idea that you're ready to start polishing. And what I did was I put the 180 on this. So I went 180 first, and then with the palm sander, I went 320, 600 to 800. And when you're sanding, you really just want to pay attention and make sure that you're getting your previous sand marks out. I mean, I'm not going too crazy with this thing. I may hit the polisher around some of that and see if I can clean it up around the weights. But for the most part, since I'm going to have a powder-coated rear end and a powder-coated transmission, connecting piece needs to look somewhat decent. So next is going to be polishing this thing out. And after I get done polishing it, I'll explain that. And hopefully we'll have a pretty decent product. Well, here it is. It's all finished. I think it turned out pretty good. I did notice that my first stage of sanding, I believe it's 180 that I did with the grinder. Some of those marks are slightly still in there. Not a huge deal for something that's going to be underneath the truck. Like I've always said, I'm not a professional polisher, and I probably won't ever be one. I mainly just mess with my own stuff, but I don't think I'm doing too bad for being YouTube certified. So that turbo cover is the first one that I've ever done, and it turned out pretty good. I got two more over here. These are the ones that are going on my truck. That turbo is actually Dalton's cover. But these are the next project as far as polishing. And my goal is to get these logos smooth enough to where I can polish those. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I can get it done with enough sanding. I'm hoping that's the case, but this turbo is massive. That's the next project. Here's the little 66. Polishing definitely is a messy job. It's filthy in here. This stuff gets all over the place. You got cords running everywhere for all the different machines that are used, and it's definitely a long, stretched out task when you're polishing, because you got to go through all the steps of sanding and then all the steps of polishing. But anyway, I haven't decided what video this is going to go into. It was kind of like a last minute decision, hence why the sanding had already begun when I started the video, because I wasn't originally going to video me polishing the drive shaft, but then I decided last minute that I wanted to. So the turbo was actually the first time that I'd ever used the grinder sander, which is this one right here. The model on this is a DWE 43240VS, and I don't even know what speed I was running at. I'd say it goes up to 4. I was at like 3.5, but depending on what sanding disc you have on there, it takes material off fast, because I wish I would have taken a video of this before, but this actually had like a 3/4 inch wide machine lip that was like an 1/8 inch tall, and it went all the way around, and you can kind of see, let's see, maybe right there, you can see like a machine line. So it actually took off straight, and I grinded it all out so that this whole cover is smooth, and it turned out super good. It would have looked good either way, but I prefer a nice smooth looking turbo, especially since this is the top, and when it's sitting in the engine bay, it's gonna look like that. So I don't know. It's my first turbo I've done. Dalton let me try his out. Race covers of turbos aren't too expensive, but luckily it turned out good. I didn't mess it up. There's no waviness on it or anything. It's perfectly smooth. So next is my turbos, and get those done. I guess I can give some updates on the truck. So I got my engine sitting here. I got the rear end installed. Let me turn on some lights here. I did put some new lights in my shop. It's super bright in here now. Definitely helps out when you're in here working at nighttime. It's even pretty bright during the daytime when the sun's out. You can tell the lights are on, which before you couldn't. So, my engine's sitting here, and these pieces are just resting on here. We still have to get it up on the stand. I'm waiting on I believe it's a Longhorn brand. It's a special stand that mounts to the factory engine mount location, and it bolts to the engine stand. That way you can put on your front and rear engine covers, and then I can get my flywheel or flex plate bolted up, torqued down, get everything done on the whole engine. My plan is to put the pedestal on, get the up pipes on, put all the stuff on the front end done, and then I actually got this Dirty Hooker diesel engine hoist lift, whatever you want to call it. It's going to make it super easy to go ahead and hook it up and drop it into the truck versus using a chain like I normally have up until this point, that you would just hook on and then wrap it around and then use a chain. It's perfectly balanced. The one time that I've lifted it up, I used this hook right here, and they got it dialed in as far as where the center location is for weight. So, I got a lot of stuff to do with the engine, and I'll probably go more in the depth once we actually get it mounted on the stand and get things going as far as that goes. Last weekend, I had the truck up in the air, and I actually washed the whole underneath of the truck, power washed everything, hand washed underneath the body as much as I could. degrease the whole entire frame. Keep in mind, this truck is still a work truck. It's not a show truck. I try to make it as nice as I can, and yeah, I probably go a little bit overboard as far as it being a work truck. I went ahead and just spray painted the frame. That's what I've always done. I spray paint the frame on all my trucks. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with it. It's easy to pull it in here. Any of my trucks, I pull them in here, I'll degrease the frame, let it dry for a couple days while it's sitting in the shop, and then I turn around and I spray paint the whole thing. It usually turns out pretty good. Let me grab one of my spray paint cans and I'll show you guys what paint that I use. All right, I found a can. So it's made by Rust-Oleum, Ultra Cover, Paint Plus Primer, Semi-Gloss Black. So I get it at Menards. Menards is my go-to place. And when I go there, I pick up, like I said, a decent amount of cans and I keep them on the shelf. That way, if I get some extra time and I notice that the frames need a little touch-up, I pull it in here, wash everything off, let it dry, hit the frame, and it looks brand new again. So I'm going to do a little walk around of the truck. I'm going to go ahead and lift it up in the air. So here it is. Everything's wiped down, cleaned up, painted. I actually even touched up the top of the wheel wells. Anybody that has this body style of truck knows that the plastic wheel wells only go up to about right here. And this painted surface is left exposed. It had rot chips and stuff like that. So I went ahead and just painted that, cleaned up the suspension, painted the frame. So I believe, if I remember right, this truck has a little over 200,000 miles on it. It's still rust-free. I'll give you a little close-up of the rockers. It looks super nice still. And believe it or not, this truck is actually plowed a few times. But original rockers. There's the front support. There's the rear end. The gooseneck. This gooseneck was on there when I bought the truck. It's not in the best shape, but whatever. I'm not changing out the gooseneck just because it doesn't look pretty. Definitely pretty excited about the powder coated rear end. I've always wanted one and now I got one. So once I get the engine on the stand, I believe that's going to be here tomorrow, which would be Thursday. This weekend, probably get the engine on the stand and start putting covers on and parts on. And there is one thing that I'm not 100% sure on, and I didn't know this until I was going through Dirty Hooker Diesel's website, and I found that when you're running a girdle on these engines, which I am on mine, the bottom oil pan has threads on it, and I'll show you here, that I'm pretty sure the bell housing bolts up to. So, I believe they're that bolt hole and this bolt hole. So, with that being said, I'm pretty sure in order to use those holes, Dirty Hooker Diesel makes this little kit right here, and you have to weld these on. I don't do that type of welding. I can weld metal, but I have a local guy here in town that actually welded my oil drain tube, or the drain fitting for the second turbo, which is right there. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with this oil pan yet. It's already powder coated. I would hate to not use those holes, but at the same time, it's got the pins that go from the block to the transmission through the bell housing. Technically, that holds the transmission in place, and then all your bolts hold it secured to the engine. So my plan as of right now, obviously since I bought the stuff to do it, I'm going to try to make it right, but I don't know exactly where those go, and I won't know until they go, or I won't know where they go until I mount the transmission up to the motor. It seems like it's going to be a pain in the ass, so I'm probably just going to leave them off all the way until I get the transmission up into the truck, get an idea, and we might just have to grind some powder coat off, and my buddy might just have to come over here and weld it while it's up in the truck, because at that point the engine will be in the truck and the oil pan will be installed. My buddy that did that, his name's Evan, B&M Performance. He's local to me. He's right here in Springfield. And for those of you that have been following me for a long time, he actually is the one who fabricated my whole entire turbo kit for the Trailblazer. He does super badass work, and I'm really, really lucky to have someone like that here in town, because the kind of work that he does is very hard to find, and he's a damn near a perfectionist, and all of his work is legit. So hopefully I can get him over here and get that done. If we actually need him to be here to do that, I'm sure he'll do it for me. And yeah, I don't really have any other updates as of right now until things get rolling with the engine on the stand. So there's so many parts laying around. I'm kind of nervous, but it's one of those things where you just gotta start getting into it and you figure it out as you go. Because if you sit here and you overthink everything, then you're just gonna stress yourself out. And you know, I'm not gonna say that I was 100% organized when I pulled this engine out, and this engine's been out of this truck for so long. I mean, I'll show you my part tables. They're not very organized at all. But I haven't touched anything since I took out the engine, and I've kind of just left stuff where I put it originally. So I have a pretty good idea of where stuff is and what it goes to. But for example, head gaskets that we didn't use. I know that this whole entire tote came off of everything on the front of the motor, so I'm sure I'll figure that out. Banks intercooler, and I got a new radiator also. These are things, like I said earlier, the truck has around 200,000 miles on it. So while everything's out and I'm spending this much money, I just said screw it, might as well replace some of your main things that are important. I mean, I did have some cooling issues, so who knows if the stock radiator that was in there all this time, since probably the vehicle was new, was clogged. You know, I could get it flow tested. We have a radiator shop here in town that could do that, but at the same time, it's got 200,000 miles on it, so I said screw it, I'm just going to put a new one in it. The Banks intercooler is an upgrade. It flows better, so that'll be all good. I do have the compound turbo kit sitting here from HSP. I haven't even opened it up yet because I really don't want to get everything out until I'm ready to actually put it on. There is a lot of different parts in there, and believe me, I am excited to open it up, but at the same time, like I said, there's a lot of different parts and I don't want to go losing stuff. There's no point at looking at it and then getting stuff mixed up and all that good stuff. So another thing that I believe is going to be here tomorrow is new brakes. I'm getting rid of these, so that'll be one of the next things that I do is I pull those brakes off. I got drilled and slotted rotors. Obviously, the rear end still needs brakes put on it. I got new bearings sitting right here. So Dalton's going to come over in the next few nights, and we're probably going to put the brakes on, get the bearings done with seals, and get the motor put on the stand and start putting covers on anything that needs sealed up. He's going to give me a hand with that. There is another thing that I have seen after doing some research. When you run that girdle, running the girdle is kind of a big decision. That if you're going to build the Duramax motor, running a girdle is kind of a pain in the ass. The only reason that I decided to run the girdle is because my truck is heavy and it's a dually. So all that extra weight and traction that I would be getting versus a single wheel truck, it's going to put more stress on the bottom end. I am not an engine expert. I'm just kind of using common sense and hopefully making it a little bit overkill to where it will handle that extra power because of the weight and the fact that it's got a big service bed on the back full of tools. The point of this truck is to just have a fun daily service truck. So I don't know, but anyway, so when you run the girdle, your oil pickup tube has to be modified, and it's because the girdle, I'm not sure exactly how thick it is, but I want to say it's maybe like a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8 thick. So you have to modify your pickup tube to basically make up for that difference that your girdle is sitting on there. So, got to do that. I can't remember exactly what I got to do with that, but I might show that in a video too. So these are all things that are going to be shown in the future. I'm going to try to show as much stuff as I can. I know there's a lot of people out there that, you know, once you crack a piston or you break your crank, there's no point in just going back factory. You might as well build it a little bit better to handle a little bit more power and be less worried in the future and enjoy the truck without having to worry that it's going to break at that point. So there is information out there on YouTube and forums and Facebook pages and all that stuff, but I'm going to try to show you as much as I can while I'm doing it myself. And I don't know, hopefully on the next video we'll be putting the engine in, and maybe I should say hopefully on the next video we'll be assembling it on the stand, maybe do a time lapse of that and putting it in the truck. Really excited to show you the transmission. It's still over at Dalton's, but it's almost done. We're just waiting for a few more bearings for the tail housing. Get the transmission all put up in there, put the drive shaft on, get a good look of what the powder coated transmission with polished drive shaft and the powder coated rear end is going to look like. I'm excited for that, and until next time, see you guys later. Like I said in the last video, I was going to show you the finished product of the merch room. I also recently released the new shirt design, which I can probably give you an idea what it looks like. So it's got the race truck on it, the one that I'm building now. I think it's super cool because you can see all this, the powder coated suspension in it. Primo Designs did a super good job on designing that and getting it perfected. All right, so here's the room. Basically got the concrete done, painted all the paneling that I put up. Basically, this is where we fold shirts and package them, ship them out. Got the printer over there. And let's see. So we got small, medium flex fit hats, large, extra large flex fit hats. Then you got your adjustable trucker caps. Here's inventory, different shirts. These are all the youth. There is some hoodies left on the youth stuff. But anyway, I will put the link in the description for merch. And if you want to go pick up a shirt or a couple shirts, also got these new stickers recently. Those are on the website. Feel free to go to the website, check it out, and I appreciate it.